Never save your money. Those were the first words my grandfather ever told me about wealth. I was 12 years old, sitting on the porch of his small house. I remember dropping my jaw in shock. My parents, my teachers, the TV, everyone had told me the opposite. Save for a rainy day, they'd say. Be responsible, put it in a jar, put it in the bank. But my grandfather just leaned back in his creaky wooden chair, his eyes reflecting the setting sun, and he smiled a slow, tired smile. He didn't look like a rebel. He looked like a man who had survived a war with poverty and won. If you just save it, boy, he whispered, the world will find a way to take it from you. Inflation will eat it, taxes will nibble at it, time will rot it. Don't just save money, make it breathe, make it grow. Then, he told me the story that changed everything. He told me about the man he used to be, the man the village called the dreamer, but meant the lazy one. Long before I was born, in a village where the dust seemed to settle on everything, my grandfather lived a life of someday. Every morning, he would sit under a massive, sprawling baobab tree. He wasn't sleeping, his eyes were wide open. He was watching the road, dreaming of a life where he was the one driving the truck, not the one covered in its dust. One day, he would tell anyone who listened, I'll own the biggest shop in this province. I'll have cattle so numerous they'll look like a brown sea on the hills. I'll be rich. But words are cheap, and dreams are free. While he dreamed, his hands stayed soft. He never picked up a shovel. He never planted a seed. At first, the neighbors laughed at him. There goes the king of the tree, they'd joke. But as the years turned his hair gray, the laughter turned into a heavy, suffocating silence. They didn't hate him. They felt sorry for him. And the person who felt it most was my grandmother. I imagine her now, her hands cracked from lie and scrubbing, her back permanently arched from carrying the water that he should have been carrying. She didn't complain. She just worked in the shadows of his big dreams, trying to keep a family together with nothing but hope and a few scraps of wood for the fire. Then came the winter that broke the silence. The harvest in the village had been poor. The air was thin and sharp. One evening, my grandmother stood in the kitchen. She opened the wooden cupboard, the one with the chipped paint. Creak, nothing. Not a single grain of rice. Not a stale crust of bread, just the hollow sound of wood hitting wood. My father was a little boy then. He walked up to his father, my grandfather, and pulled on his sleeve. He was barefoot, his toes blue from the cold floor. He didn't cry. He just asked, in a voice as thin as a thread, Grandpa, is there bread tonight? My grandfather looked into that cupboard. He looked at his wife's exhausted eyes. And for the first time in 40 years, the dreamer woke up. He felt a physical pain in his chest, sharper than any heart attack. It was the pain of realization. He realized that while he was busy looking at the sky, his family was starving on the ground. He didn't sleep that night. He tossed and turned, the hunger in his stomach echoing the guilt in his soul. He realized the most painful truth a man can face: dreams without discipline are just hallucinations. The next morning, before the sun had even kissed the horizon, he did something the village never expected. He walked to the fields, not to sit under a tree, but to work the land. He became a day laborer. The work was brutal. He was an old man starting a young man's job. He spent 14 hours a day under a sun that felt like a physical weight on his neck. His soft hands, the hands of a dreamer, blistered, then bled, then finally turned into hard, calloused leather. Every night, he would walk home, his legs shaking with fatigue. He would lay a few coins on the table. It wasn't much. It was barely enough for a bowl of watery beans and a few tortillas. But as he sat there, he heard the village men talking at the store. The secret is saving, they said. If you save every penny, you'll be safe. He took those words to heart. He found an old glass jar, wiped away the dust, and hid it under the floorboards beneath his bed. Every week, no matter how hungry he was, he would drop a coin in. Clink. That sound became his new dream. He stopped buying tobacco. He wore shoes until his toes touched the dirt. He watched his family eat small portions, telling himself, it's okay, we are saving for tomorrow. The jar is getting full, we are finally safe. After a year of starving himself to fill that jar, the day finally came. The jar was heavy, it was a treasure to him. He took it to the market, his chest puffed out with pride. He walked up to the grain merchant. I want 3 sacks of corn, my grandfather said, dumping the coins onto the wooden counter. "I've saved for a year for this." The shopkeeper didn't even smile. He counted the money with a bored expression. Then, he pushed half the coins back. "Prices went up last month," the merchant said. "This only buys 1 sec now. Maybe 1.5 if I'm feeling kind." My grandfather felt the world tilt. He had suffered for a year. He had worn rags. He had stayed hungry. And yet, the safety he had built in that jar had shrunk while he wasn't looking. The money hadn't changed, but its power had died. He sat outside the market that day, watching his neighbors. He noticed something. His neighbor, a man named Mateo, wasn't carrying a jar. He was carrying a crate of fresh eggs. Another neighbor had a bucket of frothing, warm milk. They weren't saving for tomorrow. They were producing for today. That was the moment the jar philosophy died, and the seed philosophy was born. He took the remaining money he was supposed to save, and he did something reckless. He bought 3 thin, scraggly chickens. My grandmother thought he had finally lost his mind. "We can't eat those chickens yet," she cried. "We need bread now." "Wait," he said. "The bread is gone tomorrow. These chickens are a factory." He and my father built a small coop out of scrap wood. They fed those chickens the leftovers of their already small meals. At first, there was 1 egg. Then 2. They didn't eat them all. They sold some. With the egg money, they bought better feed. Then, they bought a 4th chicken. Slowly, so slowly, it was like watching grass grow. The coins in his little book started to multiply. He wasn't just working for a paycheck anymore. He was building a system. He told me, "Boy, that first egg was more powerful than the whole jar of coins." Why? Because a coin is dead. It just sits there. But an egg is a promise. It's life that creates more life. By the time my father was a man, that lazy dreamer owned a poultry farm that fed the entire village. He didn't have a jar under his bed anymore. He had assets that worked while he slept. My grandfather passed away years ago, but I still hear his voice every time I look at my bank account. "Saving money is like trying to hold water in your cupped hands," he'd say. "No matter how tight you squeeze, it will slowly slip through your fingers. The heat of the world will evaporate it." Most people live in the comfort trap of a steady paycheck and a savings account that grows slower than inflation. They think they are safe, but true safety doesn't come from what you keep, it comes from what you build. If you have $100 today, don't just hide it. Use it to buy a tool. Use it to learn a skill. Use it to buy a seed, whether that's a stock, a piece of equipment for a side business, or a book that teaches you how to multiply your value. The system wants you to be a saver because savers are predictable. But the world belongs to the builders. Ask yourself today, is your money sitting in a dead jar under the bed? Or is it out in the world, working for you like those 3 thin chickens? Stop dreaming about someday. Stop starving yourself just to watch your savings lose value. Take your coins, find your egg, and start building. Because as my grandfather taught me, you don't get rich by working for money. You get free by making money work for you. If this story moved you, don't let the lesson slip away. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, what is one seed you are going to plant this week? I'll see you in the next one. Now, get to work.